Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the light bearers and being in the darkness and how yesterday I talked all the way to the end where they died and they went on and what happens to them once they die and how they can come back and change time. Well, today I wanted to shorten the journey a little bit and then stop at Hana's freedom. Okay, the light bearers are influencers. The 25% of the population are influencers. Okay, so if we take one existential threat that we have right now, you could say is that 25% of the population has gone down into the power games, and 25% functions for its own interests. So we are looking at, for example, on January 6th, a possible another replay of the insurrection, at this time pushing it to the point where it starts a genocide, okay, where people are dying. And basically there are places all over the world where that's happening. Okay, so I want to stop that. I want to look at the light bearers from a different perspective so that people can understand there's a possibility that they can be turned around. And because they're 180 degrees from it, they think they're how to turn them around so they're functioning as light bearers again. They're being squeezed too. And then we can come back and we can start working with all the other people who chose not to be part of the insurrection. So, back at the very beginning of my videos, I said we always have three choices. One is to go up, down, or straight ahead. Remember this? Up, down, or straight ahead? Okay, so this is going down. I'm talking about the people who have gone down. But straight ahead isn't helping either, because you could say the existing structure is straight at the people who don't know how to solve the problems, and they're passing them on to future generations. Up is what we want. We always want to go up. And the people who are down here think that revenge is basically how they can go up. So they're flipped around this way too. All right. So what we want to do is the existing structure isn't helping, because let's say putting them into prison is the only option that we have right now. We have putting them into prison or basically killing them, like what happened with ISIS and in Rwanda, when Paul Kagame started shooting people, and became the president of Rwanda. Okay. So anyway, what we're looking at is how to stop this from happening. It's that my organization has a protocol for ending genocides, and that is just saying stop to people. They have to stop playing the games. Okay, the stop is an opportunity to, when there's a riot situation, the first person who walks away from it it says this is not right, walks away, then the second person has to make the same decision. And if that person walks away too, then basically it collapses the power base. When you target an innocent person, that's collapsed the power base. I'm going to explain something too about Caligula, and there was recently they found a place in Europe, someplace, northern Europe, where it was a tower for Caligula or something. So imagine the power that he had based on war and taking over hostile takeovers, and then Rome experienced a hostile takeover, but it was based on collapsing the power base, not by might, but by the crucifixion of Jesus. They targeted an innocent person. The games continue on until an innocent person is crucified. Okay, this is what happened in Iraq with Saddam Hussein, when no weapons of mass destruction were found. We're looking at all of these ideas, but today I wanted to talk about the light bearers. So I wanted to put that in perspective. The idea of Donald Trump going to prison for his crimes is abhorrent to a lot of people. The idea of him being able to perpetrate crimes and get away with it is abhorrent to a people. So there has to be a middle ground that's I have to do something, but I don't know what to do, but I have to do something, but I don't know what to do, but I have to do something, but I don't know what to do. And then the middle ground is kind of like halfway between those two ideas. That's in the conflict resolution brochures. Okay, mediation of conflict. So now what we have is the Lightbearers are influencers to their own cultures, and they're being squeezed also by the end of time, by the end of the opportunities for them to get their life. People all over, the people who are focused on their money and power and the economy over everything else, they're being squeezed. The economy, Joe Biden might be doing really, really well, but is it based on the root cause of a solid economy? What is it that's doing it? Are we going to put the people to work, and there aren't any people who can work because they're sick or whatever? You see, or that's all these problems that are here. So we have to unravel everything one step at a time. And that's to understand first the battles of Armageddon and how this schism happened, why it happened, why people are being squeezed. What are the power games that are being played if they're going down into the power games? What are the power games? How can we stop the power games? What is going on? How do we stop Armageddon and then go on and climb out of the abyss from all these existential threats when the existing structure can't solve them? So let's say that we have the U.S. government and back in George Bush's time and going into Iraq and it collapsing our power base because there were no weapons of mass destruction. We can't sweep that under the rug. So all these ripples of effects have gone out and they're causing all these problems. And now we have to start unraveling them. So the Lightbearers are 25% of the population. If we put them into prison, what happens is, how can you put 25% and the people who've gone into the power games and have broken the law, waging war and genocide and murder and massacres and all these things, how can you put Congress into the people who are money people who've gone along with Trump? How can you put them in prison? So the January 6th committee is running into problems because how can they get away with that? And if they get away with it, how do the people in Congress pull everybody back into the crisis? So Hana's freedom is a very important idea right now because the Lightbearers are Lightbearers who are in the darkness. Lightbearers are in the darkness. What we have to do is understand that the Lightbearers are influencers to their own cultures and religion. But the idea is to introduce the plan for the international government. If Joe Biden was to introduce, and Barack Obama and all the people who basically supported it in the first place, opened it up and talked about it, if they opened it up and talked about it and they shared what they know, what would happen? The Republican Party, when Obama first got the information from Ahmadinejad, I sent out letters to the ambassadors. I was keeping them informed. Let's say that nobody paid any attention. When you open an idea, a lot of times the only people who will listen to you are the people who are looking for an angle, looking for something. It's not the people who are your friends who are going to pay attention to you. I'm already getting my life. I don't want to be involved. No. Hey, it's the people who are looking for angles. They're always looking for something, always out. The greed idea. Okay. So that's what happened to me. I got started. I had this plan for world peace in 2003. 2003, I sent information to the government. I think I got my email shut off for a while because I was talking about universal law. They shut me down for a while. I didn't have access to my email account because I was trying to stop the war. And hey, the war was going full blast. But what happened then is that when I sent it to the ambassadors, they didn't listen to me until I had enough affiliate members who liked the plan, who had opened it up to debate, and then the ambassadors listened. And then they leveraged it. I did an end run. I went around with the ambassadors. They worked with the world leaders, and then the world leaders, like Iran, Ahmadinejad, came back and talked to Obama. So at that point of time, if then Obama opened the door to Iran with the JCPOA, and then to Cuba, and then back, and then, but then what happened was this schism had occurred in 2003 when there were no weapons of mass destruction. And he didn't listen. Bush didn't listen. They were hell-bent, so to speak, on revenge. So we have to understand revenge, how it works, why it doesn't work, how time is stopping because of opportunities and the ripples have gone out. All of these ideas I go into in my books, but they're not available to people because I can only sell them to my amateur quality. I have to wait until somebody else will assume responsibility for the next government proposal. And people are fighting already to stop this plan from happening. So the Lightbearers are trying, they're in the darkness and they're functioning for their own interests. Because their own interests, they can talk to the people who are part of their culture. All right? If we turn that idea around and make them watchdogs of the organization, and by introducing this idea and opening up to debate, what will happen is they become the watchdogs of the organization, not with the idea that they are going to try to destroy it, because, okay, we have war and global genocide as one possibility going down with them taking control. We have an influence in Congress and destroying democracy, and the preppers finally want to be able to get out their militias and everything, and I don't want to live in a world like that, and most people don't. Nobody's in agreement with that world to happen. Then what we have is the existing structure not solving problems. We want to go up. We want to create a sense of equality for everybody, conflict resolution. We want peace on earth, goodwill toward all people. Isn't that the whole idea? So by working with the people, by turning them around, okay, by making them watchdogs of the organization and how it works and how we're introducing this information, that turns them around. When the U.S. government stands up, that is the contingency for the plan and announces not their support, but that they are going to open it up for debate amongst everybody. Okay, giving everybody the option to go up. So, will the U.S. government choose war and all the massive military structure spendings, okay, that all these super weapons that are hypersonic and we're going to battle Russia out in space? You know, come on. Who wants to die out in space? That's a terrible way to die. There is no really good way to die, but that's one of the worst ones. To be going, pew, you know, Star Wars, let that be Luke Skywalker's thing. You know, do we want to die out in space? Do we want to have this big, huge, massive war and the clones and everything? We don't need that. Okay, we want peace on Earth. If you want to fight, do it on Nintendo type movies or Xboxes or whatever. Do it virtually. Okay. So the Lightbearers are backwards. If the U.S. government were to just officially open it up for debate, what would happen instead of putting all of those Lightbearers into prison, all those members of Congress into prison, okay? Because straight ahead is down. Straight ahead is down. Eventually, it reaches the point where how much of Congress are you going to put into prison? Okay? So, the idea of Hana's freedom is the next step in that idea. Open it up for debate. A plan for world peace has been opened up to debate. Okay, the letter to the Supreme Court, my letter to the Supreme Court it introduces the idea of God's law, universal law, as the basis for the international government, about a misunderstanding in our legal system that allows our government, or any government, because it's basically all over the universe, any government might be even on Pluto, if there were people on Pluto. Everybody, all the aliens are subject to universal law too. If we can deal with that, basically what we have is a structure that everyone is equal. Everyone is subject, might not be subject to constitutional law because that's the application in the United States, but we're all subject to universal law, which is God's law of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There are more than one universal laws too, so we'll get into that in other videos. Okay, but that's the main one when it comes to government and stopping conflict and things like that. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if the U.S. government were to announce their support from the standpoint of the plan, opening it up for debate, then all of those light bearers are going to have to turn around, and then they're going to start influencing their own cultures and religions. Okay, then the ones who have broken the law, they're not going to get away with it. They go into Hana's freedom idea. So not only do I need somebody to help me start the constitutional amendment idea, we also need to have that first step is to address the crisis center, for people who all over we're going to have to deal with the people in crisis. And what crisis are they? Then that's where the channels come in. The channels are the ones who are going to be, it's not me telling somebody what to do, it's God telling them what to do and then putting them on the right path again. Hana's freedom is the opportunity for people. Hana was buried, like I said, that town in England, right next to the Tor. The name of the place starts with a C, but you'll find it on the map. Just Tor, search for Tors. Then what they did was that Tor basically is next to the town, and the path goes straight towards the Tor. So if they were like Mary Magdalene causing problems, then, like I said yesterday, if she was causing problems because she was a prostitute and working with both sides and shooting both sides down, basically what happened was she was caught and they were stoning her. They were tired of what she was doing to undermine the security of the town, to undermine the security of the soldiers, the Romans, to threaten their security by sitting on the fence between the two. At one point in time, she had to step down off the fence and declare who she was. And at that point in time, and you can say that's a problem that Hillary Clinton had, is that she sat on the fence and she was willing to work with both sides, but at some point in time, she had to step off the fence, step down and stand on the principles of it. And that's one of the reasons why people kind of turned against her as president of the United States. That's a game that doesn't really work. Okay, so she went down into the games when Bernie Sanders was standing on the principles. And that's the thing of it is that each of the segments, the 4 segments, schisms also. So you have the people on the the fourth row people are also going to schism down to the individual level where they have to make their choice. And by opening, if the U.S. government opens it up for debate to everybody and announces that support, what will happen is the Lightbearers will start to schism also, and down to the point where Donald Trump is by himself. Okay, so if we have the letter to the Supreme Court that introduces universal law, and then we have Tor Hana's freedom and the crisis center, you could say, then that's how we can bring in the Lightbearers to help us with the constitutional amendment. The revolution is not a genocide that they're supposed to perpetrate on January 6th. The revolution is the Armageddon and the schism that's happening because it's like the American Revolution. Okay, so if there's a prison, the next person who comes in has to deal with the legalities of this and all the things that I can't do as a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization. I can't lobby Congress. But what happens is that group, as a more of a political organization, because of the constitutional amendment, that group can actually be involved with the things that I can't do as a nonprofit. I can open things up for debate, I can introduce ideas, and I can go through and do things like that as the principle of this organization. But the next principle of that organization is a network of project, a network of organization, so to speak. And that one is the one that has the right to do the grassroots movement idea. I can't start grassroots movements. I can only talk about them, open it up for debate, but bringing them together and organizing them is the next person's responsibility. So as that person is running around trying to stop the conflagration that's starting, the best thing that he or she can do is by starting this idea, bringing together more and more people into like ending this conflict that's separating everybody. Tor Hana's freedom allows, if somebody has been Tor Hana, Hana was a prostitute basically who was buried alive in a tor, a pile of rocks. You know, you've seen pictures of England with the big piles of rocks. That's a tor. They actually rise up out of the ground. It's a geological phenomenon that they rise up out of the ground. And then it creates spaces between the rocks, and it creates like little caves. And they were buried alive in a cave. They were taken to this town, incorrigible people, and then they walked the path, buried alive, because that's the only way they could stop them from abusing their power. There was a legal system in those days also, and the incorrigible people were put into the tor. But there has to be a way to turn them around, and that's where Mary Magdalene was so important, because Jesus is the one who turned her around. It was Jesus of Nazareth who turned her around. What he did was he defended her, and then he took that idea forward, and he made her. They were going to stone her, and he said, "He who is without sin, okay, throw this first rock." And nobody, he just wiped out the mob that was trying to destroy her, to kill her. And that's what turned her around. But there was always, my theory has always been, I haven't talked to Jesus about this. But Jesus is one of my guides. I've written books with him. Okay, but I've never really asked him about that idea about the darkness. And someday when I'm able to channel again Jesus, and they'll come back, we have this big pile of information that we have to sort through first before they'll come and work with me again. I have to work with 2 more channels at the Crisis Center and help people start their get their niche. But if Jesus was tempted by the devil, was he tempted by Mary Magdalene? Was this a battle between Mary Magdalene and Jesus, the light and the darkness? And the light, remember, this is Christmas time. This is the time when the Faith of the Pure Race students are starting this idea of learning the planning steps. If you know the root cause of a problem with a planning process, you can find the solution. So we're cranking out people who can solve problems. This is the point where if you are running for Congress, this is the point where you should really be involved with understanding the root cause of problems and then coming up with problems. We'll go into that. I've already talked about the election process. So if Mary Magdalene and Jesus defended her, and then who will stand up and defend Mary Magdalene? Is it going to be who will stand up and defend Mary Magdalene? And then turn her around. She was playing the game, sitting on the fence, working with one, working with the other, shooting down one, shooting down the other. You know, the Romans and the Jews, the Hebrews that were part of that group. Okay, so the men would come and have to her as a prostitute and get information. And what are the Romans doing now? Okay, and then that ended when she abused her power. She had to step down, and that was the point where the other side was going to go after her. Okay, then what happened was she was in the abyss. She sided with the Romans apparently, and then the Hebrews were going to stone her for what she was doing, and then Jesus came in and defended her. And then that's when she actually didn't become a disciple, but she became a very important part of the movement. Okay, so that's what we're looking at now, is how to defend Mary Magdalene, how to defend, let's say, Donald Trump doesn't look anything like Mary Magdalene, but who will defend Donald Trump, so to speak, and at what point in time does that happen where the U.S. government is now going to open that up to debate? It backs Donald Trump into the corner. Mary Magdalene was sitting on the fence, but Donald Trump is also sitting on a fence because he declares himself to be part of the government, and he's also part of the insurrection. What part does he fit? And the point where he has to, when you understand about Lightbearers, he has to influence his own people. But who are his people? What causes people to die is that when they believe they can't get their life. So the Lightbearers are functioning lack of capacity because they're functioning outside of their capacity. Donald Trump is functioning outside of his capacity. Okay, he has no compassion. The U.S. government is trying to put him into prison over and over and over again for breaking the laws. So, and then what happens is when that happens, when you have those two things, and then you have an issue related to where he believes he can't get his life by, okay, he wants to make a Trump hotel in Moscow or something like that. He's a hotel man, a businessman. If he cannot do that, if Russia demonstrates that they're basically compromising him, whatever, then, and he puts him into prison, that's when he believes he can't get his life. Those are the three things that set him up for pancreatic cancer. And in 3 months, if he goes to prison, he won't last in prison. He will basically die in prison. And if it's not pancreatic cancer, it will be the fact that he just died because he believes he can't get his life. So if we take him and turn him around and make him the light bearer for his own culture, and a watchdog of the organization, because let's say this is a preemptive strike on Donald Trump before January 6th. If the U.S. government stands up and defends, opens the plan up for debate, officially opens it up for debate, that is a preemptive strike on Donald Trump, on this idea of the insurrection. The Republicans didn't like the idea when Obama opened it up to the door. He said, it's a fact. It's happening right now. They have to get off. Joe Biden will have to address this issue. And this is his way. If he's backed into the corner, all he has to do is turn around. And this is the third option that allows him to go up. He sees two choices. He said, and both of them are untenable. But this is where Kim Jong-un was. He was backed into the corner by Donald Trump. He had two choices: to starve or to wage a nuclear war, and neither were tenable. So what he did was he turned around and accepted the proposal to join the international government, and that's what allowed Donald Trump to go in and preempt it. So all these preemptive strikes are running ahead and saying, I'm going to deal with this. Well, now Joe Biden can do his own preemptive strike in return, and he can open that door up. But I can do that too. I can open it up for debate, and I can say, please like, share, and subscribe. And you can help stop the global genocide that's devolving now. You can help stop the insurrection by just like, sharing, and subscribing. But most of all, sharing it with your family and friends. Okay? So, thank you for stopping by and listening.